A blood-red sky fell over Las Vegas, turning the neon-lit streets into a chaotic nightmare. People screamed as a mysterious virus spread faster than anyone could understand. Casinos became hunting grounds, hotels turned into tombs, and the once vibrant strip was now a war zone. Jack, a former mercenary, quickly gathered a small group of survivors, each scarred by the violence around them. Among them were doctors, street hustlers, and a few desperate civilians clinging to life. Explosions and sirens echoed as the infected lunged at anyone they saw. The survivors dashed through alleys, dodging panicked crowds, burning cars, and the relentless undead. Jack realized that staying in the city was suicide. Every corner they turned brought new horrors, families torn apart, looters more dangerous than the infected, and streets choked with smoke. Yet, amid the terror, moments of humanity flickered: strangers helping strangers, children hiding under beds, and a mother fighting to protect her child. Jack knew they couldn't wait for rescue. They had to act fast. The city was collapsing around them, and with every heartbeat, the odds of surviving another hour grew slimmer. Their only hope was to escape into the desert, away from the madness that had consumed Las Vegas. The scorching Nevada desert offered little relief as Jack and his group fled the city, but safety was nowhere in sight. The infected didn't follow rules. They hunted relentlessly under the blazing sun, their shadows stretching across the sand like a dark omen. Supplies ran low, and thirst gnawed at every survivor's resolve. Complicating matters, rogue mercenaries emerged, armed and ruthless, searching for a mysterious shipment rumored to hold the key to the virus. Jack's team had to remain constantly vigilant, scanning the dunes for threats both living and dead. Every rustle in the sand, every distant roar of the infected set nerves on edge. Tensions erupted within the group as fear and fatigue tested their loyalty. Arguments flared over leadership decisions, rations, and whether to continue toward Reno or turn back. Amid the chaos, small victories emerged, finding an abandoned water supply, outsmarting an infected ambush, and forming fragile alliances with travelers caught in the same nightmare. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the desert transformed into a shadowed labyrinth where danger lurked at every turn. Jack understood that survival wasn't just about avoiding the undead. It was about keeping the group together, managing distrust, and staying alive long enough to find the faint glimmer of hope ahead. Highways to Reno were lined with abandoned cars, burned-out trucks, and silent towns overrun by the infected. The survivors had to navigate treacherous roads filled with obstacles, each turn threatening a deadly encounter. Jack led the way with tactical precision, scanning for threats while keeping an eye on the vulnerable in his group. Nights were the worst. The infected became more aggressive under the cover of darkness, their glowing eyes reflecting off shattered windshields. Every sound, a distant scream, the crunch of sand underfoot, could signal an ambush. Supplies were scarce, and the group scavenged abandoned gas stations, finding little more than dust and danger. Bonds formed through shared hardship. A medic and a streetwise teenager grew inseparable, while Jack wrestled with guilt over choices that could cost lives. Trust became currency, each decision a gamble with survival as the stakes. Despite exhaustion, the road to Reno offered the promise of temporary refuge, a chance to regroup before the next wave of horrors. As dawn broke over the empty desert, the survivors pressed on, knowing that each mile brought them closer to salvation, or the next harrowing test of endurance against the relentless outbreak consuming the country. The discovery of a hidden government laboratory along their route changed everything. Inside, Jack and his group uncovered evidence of horrific experiments meant to manipulate the virus for military purposes. Test subjects in cages, cryptic notes scrawled on walls, and vials containing unknown serums painted a grim picture. The survivors realized the outbreak was not an accident, it was a weapon gone rogue. While searching for a way to neutralize the threat, tensions flared as conflicting opinions emerged on whether to destroy the lab or try to harness its findings for survival. Betrayals surfaced. One member's secret allegiance to the government came to light, shaking the fragile trust within the group. Meanwhile, the infected were drawn to the lab, forcing the survivors into tense, desperate combat. They barricaded doors, improvised weapons, and relied on their wits to fend off waves of the undead. The night stretched endlessly, punctuated by screams and the eerie moans of the infected. Amid the horror, hope emerged in the form of a potential cure hidden in the lab, but obtaining it required courage and sacrifice. Every survivor faced a personal reckoning, and Jack understood that their actions here could determine not just their fate, but the fate of the country itself. Salt Lake City was unrecognizable, a city turned into a fortress besieged by the infected. Streets that were once bustling with life now echoed with screams and the clash of metal. Jack and his group fought their way through barricades, rescuing civilians trapped in the chaos. The military had cordoned off key areas, but desperation and fear made the lines meaningless. Infected swarmed in unpredictable patterns, overwhelming anyone caught outside the protection zones. Civilians joined Jack's group, adding both strength and responsibility. Every decision carried weight, choosing whom to save, where to seek shelter, and when to fight or flee. The group's resourcefulness was tested as they scavenged supplies from abandoned buildings while avoiding deadly traps left by panicked citizens. Relationships were strained under the pressure. Arguments sparked over strategy, leadership, and moral choices. Jack reminded everyone that survival depended on unity, yet even the strongest bonds were fragile in a city teetering on the edge of collapse. As night fell, the survivors prepared for an assault that would test their courage and endurance, understanding that the fight for Salt Lake City was only the beginning of a long and perilous journey across a nation in chaos. The Rockies loomed like silent sentinels as the group pressed into the mountains, hoping for safety and a chance to catch their breath. But nature itself became an adversary. Avalanches triggered by the infected, sudden snowstorms, and thin mountain air made every step a fight for survival. The infected adapted to the terrain, stalking the group along narrow passes and hidden valleys. Jack's team had to ration food and water, climb treacherous cliffs, and avoid frozen rivers. Each night they huddled together for warmth, sharing stories and fears, their bonds strengthened through shared suffering. The mountains revealed unexpected dangers, hidden cliffs, treacherous ice, and the constant threat of falling prey to both infection and exhaustion. Despite these challenges, the survivors found moments of beauty amid the terror: frozen waterfalls, the serene quiet of untouched snow, and fleeting glimpses of wildlife. Yet danger was never far, and every sunrise was a reminder that the infected never rested. The mountain escape tested their limits physically and emotionally, revealing both heroism and vulnerability in equal measure, and preparing them for the trials that awaited beyond the peaks. Crossing into the perceived safety of the borderlands brought a false sense of relief, quickly shattered by betrayal. One member, motivated by greed and fear, sabotaged their path, exposing the group to a massive horde of infected. Jack faced impossible decisions: risk everyone's lives to save the betrayer or sacrifice the few to protect the majority. Trust, already fragile, disintegrated under pressure. The group fought tooth and nail, using improvised traps, firearms, and sheer cunning to survive. Exhaustion weighed heavily, and injuries slowed progress. Yet moments of courage and sacrifice shone through. Civilians and survivors alike stepped up, revealing unexpected strengths and heroism. The borderlands were filled with abandoned towns, overrun checkpoints, and treacherous terrain that mirrored the moral dilemmas facing Jack and his team. Each encounter forced them to confront not just the infected, but human nature under extreme stress, loyalty, selfishness, fear, and bravery intertwined in a deadly dance. By the time they reached the edge of the border, the survivors were scarred, weary, and forever changed, yet determined to reach the final safe zone where humanity's last hope awaited. The final confrontation took place at a fortified city safe zone, a last bastion against the undead. Jack and his remaining survivors faced overwhelming odds as hordes of infected swarmed the walls. Using everything they had learned, tactics, traps, and courage, they fought relentlessly to protect civilians and hold the city. Secrets uncovered along their journey revealed that the infection could be stopped, but only with a daring plan that risked everyone's life. Relationships were tested as sacrifices were made, and moments of heroism shone amid the horror. Jack led the charge, understanding that failure meant not only their deaths, but the spread of the virus across the country. The battle raged through streets and buildings, explosions lighting the night, while the infected pressed relentlessly against human defenses. In the end, the survivors' resilience and unity determined the outcome. Humanity, battered but unbroken, stood tall once more. The virus had been confronted, the horde beaten back, and the survivors, scarred but alive, finally had the chance to rebuild. The story closed with a sense of cautious hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, people could rise again.